These 5 tips would have saved me years of learning. And if you're learning English right now, trust me, they'll help you improve much faster than you think. These aren't magic tricks. They're simple, powerful things that completely change the way I learned. *K. I'm Lena, and welcome to Glow Listening. I know how hard it is to learn English on your own. You feel stuck, frustrated, like you're not making progress. I've been there. That's why I created this channel, so you can learn English with real stories, real emotions, and content that actually helps you. In this episode, I want to share with you the 5 tips that helped me the most when I was learning English. And I'm not talking about the usual stuff you hear everywhere. I'm talking about what really worked. The things I learned through trial and error, struggling, failing, and figuring it out on my own. When I found these strategies, I made more progress in 3 months than I had in an entire year. And if you apply them, I'm sure you'll start to feel the difference too. You'll understand more, feel more confident, and most of all, start enjoying the process. Because learning English doesn't have to be boring or frustrating. It can actually feel natural and even fun. Ready to start? Let's go with tip number 1. Listen to stories every day, even if you don't understand everything. When I first started learning English, I felt frustrated all the time. I would study grammar for hours, memorize words, and still, I couldn't understand people speaking. It was like I was learning a code, but not the real language. One day, I tried something different. I stopped focusing only on grammar, and I started listening to short stories, real stories. Simple ones, no subtitles, just listening. And even though I didn't understand every word, something started to change. I noticed how people reacted. I felt emotions through the voice. And suddenly, some phrases started to repeat in my head, not because I memorized them, but because I had heard them in context. In a real moment. That's the power of stories. You're not just learning words, you're learning how the language feels. And that's exactly why I created Glow Listening, because I know that stories work. They keep you interested, and they help you understand without stress. Here, you'll find short and emotional stories that let you train your ear naturally. You don't need to study them, just let them play, and your brain will do the work. You can listen while cooking, walking, cleaning, or before sleeping. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day makes a difference. So here's the key. Make listening to stories part of your routine. Don't wait to be ready. Start today, even if you only catch a few words. It's not about understanding everything. It's about showing up every day. Your brain will do the rest. Let's move on to tip number 2. Tip number 2. Think in English while doing simple things. This changed everything for me. When I stopped translating in my head and started thinking directly in English, my progress got faster. You don't have to build perfect sentences. Just describe what you see, what you do, what you feel out loud, or silently, like you're narrating your day. Here's how it sounds. I'm getting dressed. I need to check my phone. Where are my keys? That's it. No pressure, no grammar charts. Just daily English. The mistake most people make. They wait until they're good enough to think in English. But that moment never comes unless you force it to happen. You have to start thinking in English now, even with broken sentences. And yes, it will feel strange at first. You'll feel slow, you'll miss words. But every time you try, your brain gets faster. You don't need to speak out loud. You just need to switch your mind, like a game. More examples. Sure. While cooking, I'm boiling the water. This smells spicy. I forgot the garlic. While walking, that car is too fast. There's a bird on the tree. My shoes are making noise. You don't need to be correct. You just need to be present. English becomes part of your life, not just something you study. So try this today. Right after this video ends, choose one daily activity. and narrate it in English in your mind. The more you do it, the more natural it feels. And one day, you'll realize you're thinking in English without even trying. Let's move on to tip number 3. Tip number 3, speak out loud. Even when you're alone, at first, it feels weird. You speak, and there's no one listening, no answer, no feedback. But trust me, it works. Because fluency doesn't start when people listen. It starts when you start speaking. Most learners wait for the perfect moment. They wait until they have a partner, until they feel ready, until they think their English is good enough. But that moment never really comes, because the only way to feel ready is to speak. I used to feel stuck in my head. I could understand English, I could think in English. But the moment I had to speak, I'd freeze, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wasn't used to hearing my own voice in English. It felt foreign, forced, and natural. That's when I started speaking to myself, out loud, at home, in the kitchen, while cleaning. I wasn't practicing conversation, I was practicing comfort. Comfort with my voice, my accent, my rhythm, and little by little, the fear disappeared. Because the more you use your voice, the more it becomes yours. You stop judging how you sound, you stop hesitating, and one day, you realize you just spoke a full sentence without thinking about it. You don't need to be fluent to speak. You speak in order to become fluent. Here's the truth. You're not going to wake up fluent one day. You're going to speak your way there, quietly, repeatedly, awkwardly, at first. And then, naturally, this isn't about sounding perfect. It's about getting used to the language flowing through you, not just around you. So say it out loud, messy, broken, slow, say it anyway. That's where fluency begins. Ready for the next step? Let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, be consistent, not perfect. Perfection is the biggest enemy of progress. And when you're learning English, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to do everything right. You wait until you feel ready. You want to pronounce every word correctly. You avoid speaking because you're scared of making mistakes. But here's the truth. No one ever became fluent by doing everything perfectly. They became fluent by showing up again and again, even when they didn't feel ready. There were days I felt like I wasn't improving at all. I listened to something and couldn't catch the words. I forgot the phrase I had just learned the day before, and for a moment, I felt like giving up. But then I reminded myself, it's not about being perfect today. It's about being present. It's about doing something, anything, that moves me forward. Progress doesn't happen in big moments. It happens in the small ones, the boring ones, the quiet ones, the ones where no one is watching. You're washing dishes, but listening to a story. You're waiting for the bus and thinking in English. You're tired, but you still repeat that one phrase before bed. That's consistency. That's the secret. We think fluency is something big and impressive, but most of the time, it's built through tiny habits that don't look impressive at all. You don't need to spend 3 hours a day. You need to spend 10 minutes every day. It's better to study for 10 minutes for 30 days than to study for 3 hours once a month and forget everything. So forget perfection. Show up instead, even if you're tired, even if it's late, even if it's just one phrase. Do it anyway, because when you're consistent, your brain learns to trust the process. And that's when the magic happens. Not overnight, but over time. Stay with it, be patient, and trust your daily effort. Tip number 5 is waiting for you. Let's go. Tip number 5, make English part of who you are, not just something you study. A lot of people treat English like a subject at school, something they have to memorize, pass, survive. But English is a language. It's meant to live with you. When I stopped thinking of English as homework, everything changed. I stopped asking, How many words should I learn today? And I started asking, how can I live a little more in English today? That shift made all the difference. I started watching movies in English because I wanted to enjoy them, not because I had to. I listened to music and looked up the lyrics, not to translate them, but to feel them. I started following creators in English, reading simple articles, even changing the language on my phone. And slowly, English became a part of my day, not something I had to force. And here's the key: the more English becomes part of your life, the less pressure you feel. You're not studying all the time, you're just living into languages now. You don't need to be fluent to belong in English. You just need to let it in. That means accepting the accent you have, speaking with the words you know, feeling proud of every small win, because English doesn't belong to one country or one group of people. It's yours the moment you use it, even if you're still learning. So don't just study English, live with it. Let it sit next to your native language. Let it shape how you think, how you express, how you grow. The moment you stop treating English like a tool and start treating it like a part of you, you stop learning it and you start living it. That's where real fluency begins. And that's what this podcast and this channel is here for. Since you stayed until the end, I have one last tip for you. A secret one, a bonus tip. Most people never talk about this, but it's one of the most powerful tools to learn English faster. Use your emotions. Your brain remembers better when it feels something. That's why you forget random words from a list, but you still remember a phrase that made you laugh, cry, or feel angry. So if you want to learn faster, connect English with real emotions. Watch a story that makes you feel something. Repeat a phrase that made you smile. Talk about things that matter to you, even in broken English. Don't just memorize words, feel them. That's what makes them stick. And that's why in this channel, we use stories, emotion, and real-life moments. Because when your heart is involved, your brain doesn't forget. You don't just learn with your head, you learn with your whole self. That's your advantage. Don't waste it. That's it for today. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you made it to the end, that says a lot about you. You're not just learning English, you're building something real. And I see you. I respect your effort. Let me remind you of something important. Fluency doesn't happen because you're talented. It happens because you're committed. Because you show up, you try, you fall, and you keep going. These 5 tips we shared today, they're not magic. But if you apply them every day, they will change how you feel about English. And more importantly, how you feel about yourself. Think in English, speak out loud, be consistent, feel the language, make it part of your identity. You're not just learning a language, you're becoming someone new. And in this channel, you're not alone. Glow Listening is a place for people who don't give up, who want to feel English, live English, and finally, speak it with confidence. So if this episode helped you in any way, let it be the first of many. Subscribe, follow the podcast, and keep going. My name is Lena, and I'll be here every step of the way. Until next time, keep listening, and don't stop, ever.